Well, Hogan Gidley is a CBSN political contributor and also the director of Huck Pac, a political organization that seeks to elect conservatives nationwide. He joins us now on the phone. Hogan, good to have you with us here tonight. How critical is Ryan's support to the Trump campaign?
I wouldn't say it's critical, but it's definitely important to what Donald Trump is trying to do. It's definitely important to the general election in November. One of the things Donald Trump has said repeatedly is that he would work to unify the party. That does include trying to get the Speaker of the House, a very popular Speaker of the House, on the same page. It's going to take some work. But look, what I think here is it's a beautiful opportunity, because if he's not on board now, if Donald Trump can say some things and do some things to get Speaker Ryan on board, it makes him makes Donald Trump look presidential. It looks like he can actually bring people together. It makes Speaker Ryan look like he's actually heard some things from Donald Trump that puts him at ease. So there is a chance for the unification to happen. And when it does, if it does, it is going to appear as though both sides have had some epiphanies and some revelations, and it'll be stronger for the party.
And will that happen next week, Thursday, at that meeting?
I don't know if it'll come out of that meeting, but you know, I mean, I'm not sure how far Speaker Ryan is away from actually endorsing Donald Trump, and I'm not sure how far Donald Trump is away from convincing Speaker Ryan he needs to do that. But regardless, unification needs to happen. It needs to happen in a hurry. And again, if Republicans think for a second that this primary process was difficult and brutal and harsh, they're right. But if they think it's going to be any easier with Hillary Clinton, they're completely delusional.
Is the unification essential? Is it essential for him to win the presidency, to unify this party?
Yeah, I think he's got to have it. Look, what George W. Bush was able to do back in 2000 was bring out the base, okay? And grow the base, quite frankly, by about 10 million votes. Same thing with Barack Obama. He brought out the base and brought in new voters by the tune of about 10 million voters. Obviously, Mitt Romney couldn't do that. And this whole idea that there's this vast middle out there is a little bit of an oversell, because that middle, whatever the number is, could help determine the outcome, but they're going to split around 50-50 either way. I mean, the country is so polarized. This is about turning out your base and getting those folks out there. Donald Trump is bringing in millions of people to the Republican Party. It looks really good for him on that front. The question is, can he solidify that base? That's really the issue for me. Of course he's bringing in new members. Of course he's bringing in people who've never voted before. But you've got to rally a base, and you've got to rally in huge millions of evangelicals, millions, to the tune of, some say anywhere from 6 to 14 million stayed home from Mitt Romney. They've got to come out for Donald Trump, and if they do, he can be successful in November.
Could his selection for vice president bring those people that are still on the fence, or even on the other side of the fence, over to his side?
Absolutely. Look, I don't think the conventional wisdom is nobody votes for the vice president. They all vote for the top of the ticket, correct?
Sure.
Right. Every year we hear that, but this is an unconventional year. And Donald Trump needs to show some poise in this vice presidential pick. I think he will. I think it's going to calm people down. I think it's going to rally people to the party and to the cause. And if he makes a strong selection, he could come out of the box and say, not only here's my VP pick, but let me point out my cabinet pick. Let me tell you my Secretary of Defense. Let me tell you the Treasury. Let me tell you some of my ambassadors. Let me tell you what I'm going to try and do here. And if he puts together an all-star cast, an all-star team of Republicans that not only gins up the base, but shows the establishment that he understands the task at hand, and he's going to have to surround himself with the best of the best, the cream of the crop. If he can do that, I think it goes a long way to solidifying that base, calming the establishment, and getting the votes needed to win.
So in a theoretical head-to-head matchup here, Trump still trails Hillary Clinton in the polls by 13 points.
Right.
Should the Republicans be worried about that at this point?
Not at this point. I mean, look, John McCain was way ahead of Barack Obama as well, and Barack Obama crushed him. So this stage of the game, it's early. People are, the middle, the base, they've all been kind of paying attention to this on the periphery. I guess the base hasn't. They're kind of into this thing. But a lot of folks are just now starting to understand who these candidates are, once the ad wars start, once you get to see an unfettered nominee not having to deal with any of his I guess, opponents in the primary process, you get to see them head-to-head. That's important, and that's going to matter a whole lot. Look, I was just at the South Carolina Republican Convention here in Columbia, and, of course, a lot of talk centered around some of the comments that Senator Graham said. You just played those clips. A lot of people here literally told me they didn't care. They said it wasn't about Lindsey Graham. This is about Donald Trump. And while they understood or didn't understand what Donald Trump or what Lindsey Graham was doing or what he was saying, everyone signed that pledge. They expect everybody to come on board and support the nominee. And regardless, Donald Trump won South Carolina, won every single county but 2. Just crushed it here in this state. And he did that to a large swath of the South. Obviously, the Northeast, he's going to do it in the West, and he's actually going to get those votes needed to become the nominee. I really believe we're setting ourselves up for a strong election, but we do need the rallying cry of the person at the top of the ticket to take his time and pick a really prudent pick that does a lot of things for him politically, but does a lot of things to calm a lot of the fears and calm the waters out there.
Hogan, I have to say, I hear some optimism in your voice. It sounds as though you really believe that this fractured party that the Republican Party is right now still has time to make amends.
I do, but I'm the eternal optimist. Look, I've been in the Republican Party for a very long time, and we always talk about fracturing the party. We always talk about tough primaries. But what was so interesting, and Major put it so beautifully in his piece, and it was everyone signed that pledge worried about Donald Trump's fidelity. But now that he's the nominee, they should stick to the pledge they made as well. Look, my old boss, Governor Mike Huckabee, he made the comment repeatedly, I'm not going to trash anyone on this debate stage because if I'm not the nominee and it's someone else, I'm going to look pretty silly coming out to that person. And he was true to his word, but he also said he would support the nominee, and he did. A lot of Republicans need to understand, if the Cruz supporters, the Kasich supporters, the Graham supporters, the Huckabee supporters, I understand you wanted your guy or girl if you're a Fiorina supporter, but let's be honest. If all the talking points and the rhetoric around each of your campaigns is true, okay, that this is a generational election, that we have to take back the Supreme Court, that Hillary Clinton is the worst for the economy, Hillary Clinton is worse for immigration, for international affairs, then that rings true whether your candidate is at the top of the ticket or whether Trump is at the top of the ticket. And if you really believe Clinton is that bad, Hillary Clinton is that bad, if you really believe we need to make sure we secure the Supreme Court, then you have to rally behind the only guy who can carry our mantle forward. And by the way, if you don't believe he's consistent conservative, if you don't believe he's all the things you are in conservatism, my advice to you is you better have a seat at the table or you're going to be on the menu. Get at the table, try and effectuate change, try and steer him in the way you want him to be steered. Otherwise, you may just be left out of the conversation altogether.
CBSN political contributor Hogan Gidley, thanks for joining us here tonight.
Thanks. God bless.